we wanted to dedicate this episode to a fan of the Guilty Feminist. She came to see the show live, and we went and had drinks with her, and she came to my show as well when I was up north in Manchester. I went to have drinks with her and her friend Hannah, and she was really amazing. And Hannah said that the podcast really helped her and her friend come to feminism and find a voice for feminism, and they talked about it all the time. So I'd really like to dedicate this episode to Helena, who sadly died. She had an accident and died, and Hannah contacted me and let me know, and we decided to dedicate the last episode that I was doing with Sofie to her, because it was about women coming together, talking to each other about things that matter to us. So, Helena, thank you very much for being our fan, and we're going to miss you. Sophie doesn't let anyone touch her. That was such a big deal. Did someone get a photo of that? Did someone get a photo of that? She doesn't let anyone touch her. I'm a feminist, but while I was delighted that Elizabeth Gilbert, author of Eat, Pray, Love, came out as a lesbian, saying she'd fallen in love with her best friend, I was also kind of annoyed that she chose to come out last week when a broadsheet newspaper were about to run a story about me because she knocked me into next week.
I want to see the sequel now to that film. There's one person who liked that. The ones I'm reading out are submitted by our listeners. They're not mine. But I'm a feminist, but when my new boyfriend... that's how you know it's not me. Sorry. Oh, God. I'm a feminist, but when my new boyfriend gave a T-shirt that said princess in sequins for my birthday, I pretended to like it because it also came with a mini break to Paris.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that's fair. I'm a feminist, but recently on the Guilty Feminist podcast group, when I referred to being a third wave feminist, someone said, "Why, aren't you a fourth wave feminist?" And I said, "I totally am." And then I looked it up and saw it was basically third wave feminism except with Twitter and podcasts and stuff, which I probably should have known because I kind of have a feminist podcast.
I totally knew that. Yeah. This is also a submission. I'm a feminist, but when I delivered my feminist manifesto at my student union, I wore my lucky knickers because there was a guy there I wanted to pull. They worked. Isn't lucky knickers no knickers?
It is for you, clearly. I'm a feminist, but earlier today, when I was telling someone about the Bechdel Test, she repeated it back to me as the rectal test. And I didn't correct her because I was too embarrassed. So now she's basically going to be telling other people about why all feminists should be having a rectal exam and seeing their horrified faces at parties. She just went, okay, so the rectal test. And I thought, I just froze. I was just like, rectal, no. But I just was like, how can I explain without this being the worst conversation anyone's ever had? So I just kept talking.
We can save that. Okay, one of you makes a Wikipedia page now about why rectal tests are important for feminism. You think of a reason. And then we're all going to hashtag about it till it becomes a thing.
Hashtag rectal health.
I'm a feminist, but when a man catcalled me on the street, I told him off until I realized he was shouting at someone else. And I got really embarrassed and I apologized. That one was mine. So, live from the London Podcast Festival, the spontaneous show presents the Guilty Feminist with Deborah Frances-White, Sofie Hagen, and tonight's special guest Andi Osho, talking about the Bechdel Test. This is the Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and the hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. Oh my God, I told Deborah this backstage. I took the bus here and the bus was stopping and I thought, this is where my ex-boyfriend lives. Oh, there he is. I'm very introverted and I'm like scared of I would never say anything like loud in public, but I just went, fuck, no. Like I was like kicking the bus and everyone was like, what's happening? And then he came
Did you
on.
say it that loudly on the bus?
Yeah,
you shouted fuck no.
I said fuck no, like in that loudness.
Wow.
No. I haven't seen him since because I'm really trying to not to. And then he came up and I was like, oh, hi. And the rest of the bus were like, we know. And they could just see me for like a 40-minute bus ride, me going, oh, that's so interesting. So what are you doing now? Are you well? Oh, you've been on a date. That's great. That's so great. Who tells their ex-girlfriend about a date?
Oh, that's such a passive-aggressive move.
Isn't
and
it?
It's basically saying, this is still not happening. So just to let you know, I'm Tindering.
I broke up. Can I just...
Yeah, but that's of course you broke up with him. That's
so
why he's
like,
having
this is
to
still
prove.
Not happening. I'm like, I know.
Yeah,
it's my choice.
He's having to prove to you that he's. I mean, just to be clear, I'm dating other people now because you broke up with him.
Just wanted to know it's been a year, and I think we should start seeing other people.
Yeah. I feel like that's what's happening. Shall we start?
Yeah,
today we're going to talk about the Bechdel test.
Oh, it's so exciting. Are you going to talk about what it is?
I am.
Good, because then you don't need to explain it now. So.
Yeah. I mean, most people, I guess, will know what the Bechdel test is, but many people won't. And if you don't know, there's no reason why you should know. It's something that everyone hears about for the first time, like sex, at some point. So shall I just do some...
Yes. Welcome to the stage, Deborah Frances-White.
So the Bechdel test is a test that was designed by Alison Bechdel in a comic strip, Dykes to Watch Out For, in 1985, although she credits a friend with it. It's a test for movies. And the first rule of the test is, does the movie have two named female characters? Two female characters who have names. That's a low fucking bar, isn't it? Because I personally prefer it if the movies I watch at the end as the credits roll, I prefer it if the women have names like Crazy Mom or Scatty Shop Girl or Feisty Gran. These are the names that women are often given in movies, and sometimes guys are given those names in movies as well, but generally also there are 100 guys in the movie who have actual names. The second rule is that two named women have to have a conversation with each other. Okay, they have to talk to each other. But that conversation has to be about something other than a man. Because nearly all the conversations that women have in movies are about men. So if two women are allowed to speak to each other, which they're normally not, when they speak, it has to be about something other than man. But this is not a mark of quality. People always think, that makes it a good movie. It doesn't. Here's an example. This is some dialogue from a movie that I watched yesterday that passes the Bechdel test. Hi, Amy, what are you up to? Hi, Sylvia, I'm just trying to take a nap, but I can't get to sleep. Should I massage your shoulders? Would that help? Oh, thanks. Great. You like that? I like that. You want me to massage down lower? Laughter. Oh, that feels good. You want good? I've got more. But don't you need to sleep? I'm not sleepy anymore. Now, that was from a movie called The Nap. It was a 1978 black and white indie movie. It's a charming film. You should get it out. Basically, all lesbian porn of any sort where the characters speak and don't just, shag each other, all passes the Bechdel test. It doesn't mean this movie is a good movie, and also it doesn't, if it's a lesbian porn film, doesn't mean it's not a good movie. Just to be incredibly inclusive. I don't want tweets saying, but lesbian porn is good. I know lesbian porn is good. I'm well acquainted with... I'm not. I don't watch porn. I don't know why I've said that. I'm in a hole. I'm in an inclusion hole. I'm digging and I'm falling deeper into the inclusion hole. But basically that is the case. Any movie where two women speak to each other passes the Bechdel test. So it's not saying a movie is good if it passes and it's bad if it doesn't. It's just identifying that over half of movies don't pass this basic test. That movies are so about a male experience that if a woman speaks, she basically speaks to a man, or she doesn't have a name, or she speaks to a woman and goes, oh, aren't men amazing? Everyone said Midnight in Paris passed. Do you know this movie? It's a Woody Allen movie. This is why the movie passed the Bechdel test. There was a mother, Owen Wilson's girlfriend's mother, and they're in a shop, and the mother says, come and look at these, Inez. Wouldn't these be charming in a Malibu beach house? And there's some chairs there. And then her daughter goes, And then the mother says, they're a steal at $18,000. And then she says, what's that? And then Owen Wilson says $18,000 for this and mansplains why she's wrong to want them. That movie passes the Bechdel test. That's how low the bar is. And in that movie is also depicted Gertrude Stein, who is one of the most famous writers and lesbians of her era. She doesn't get to talk to another woman. She just talks to men, and they basically mansplain philosophy to her. And that's how that movie works. Does anyone ever watch Feminist Frequency? It's on YouTube. She did this great video. She suggests that we have a 1-minute rule, that the conversation has to go on for 1 minute. And that's going to change the Bechdel test. So she suggested this in 2012, and nothing's happened. So what I'm going to suggest today is that we all tweet the Bechdel test has to have a 1-minute conversation, so it's not just women admiring soft furnishings. Because at the moment, that's what it is. That's what it is to pass. And there's movies like Moneyball. It's a movie about men talking about sport. There's no reason it would pass the Bechdel test. And what we don't want to do is just insert into those movies just two random characters who come in and go, hi, Louise, how's work? I like work. I enjoy work also. And then they leave and you never see them again. We don't want that, but we want regular movies that aren't female movies, that aren't male movies, to have two women in them who talk to each other about something other than a man for a minimum of 60 seconds. So what we're going to do, this audience, and when this podcast goes out, we're going to try and hashtag 60-second rule, hashtag Bechdel test, and link to that video. And we're going to see if we can get that upped so that by the year 2020, that's the thing. It will take about 4 years. Thank you very much.
I feel bad for starting this podcast with talking about a guy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
This theme is the Bechdel test, and actually all we've talked about so far is a man on a bus. That is true.
And his date.
And his date. That's true. We didn't talk about a woman there, the woman that you hate.
I don't hate her.
See, this passes the Bechdel test. It's not a mark of quality. So, Sophie, challenges for the Bechdel test. What was your Bechdel test challenge?
Oh, it hurt. Like, it's a test that hurts because if you're not aware of it, it just doesn't make sense to notice it. So I watched my favorite TV show and my favorite movie to see if they passed. I should have known because my favorite movie is by Quentin Tarantino, who's like, he's one of those people that I don't watch any interviews with or hear any podcast because I know the second he opens his mouth, I'm probably not going to like what he has to say, but I love his films. It's my guilty pleasure. But so I watched Django. It didn't pass. And then I watched the new TV show Fargo. Didn't pass. And you would have thought it would. It's really sad. It's really sad. But then, and I thought, the only thing I can do is create stuff. And as I was having that thought, I got an email from a friend of mine saying, do you want to do a play next Edinburgh? And then, I don't know why, but then I remembered, I thought, when was the last time I saw a play? And that was when I was 8. And I'm very cultural. And that play, it was a filmed play. It was a movie that I saw when I was a child, and I used to watch this on VHS, and I would like watch it again and again and again. It was my favorite thing because it was hilarious, and it was basically just about two couples, heterosexual couples, and then the man and the woman from each couple got drunk together and tried to make their partners jealous. And that's the whole thing. But it was just my favorite thing to watch. And I think it's what got me into comedy, because it was so, I loved it so much. And I looked it up, and it was a Danish movie/thing. And I looked it up, and it's based on an English play. And I'm trying to get the screenplay, and I don't know how this works, but I want to rewrite it and make it this, like 2 lesbian couples, interracial. It's not going to be about making their partners jealous. It's going to be about something else. And I just want to make it this fourth wave feminism thing. And I want to
Aren't you going to make it fifth wave feminism?
Yes. That's the one with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like you're really behind the times with fourth.
Yeah.
I've just invented fifth.
I basically want to rewrite my childhood and make it past the Bechdel Test. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know if it's going to be next year or what year. I don't know how it works, how easy it's going to be.
But you started that process you're going to try and get the rights, and you're going to try and rewrite something that didn't pass and make it something that passes. That's great. That's a great challenge.
Yeah.
And we will all go and see that when it comes out.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Very good. My challenge was I went round to my friend's house, and her little girl was there, and I was wearing a Guilty Feminist t-shirt that says, "Some days even my life doesn't pass the Bechdel test," which was the very first I'm a Feminist part I ever did. And she was looking at my shirt, she's 7, and she went, "What's the Bechdel test?" And I said, "The Bechdel test." And I said, "Well, do you ever watch movies?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Are there more boys in them or girls in them?" And she sort of thought about it, and she said, "Sometimes there's girls, like in Frozen, and sometimes there's boys." And I said, "Do the girls talk to each other a lot?" So we started thinking about movies, and I said, because if 2 girls in the movie only ever talk about boys, it doesn't really reflect life, does it? Because you would talk to your girlfriends about other things. And she went, "Oh, yeah." And so we talked about all her favourite movies, and we went through them. We said, so now we're going to watch out for that. And then later in the day, I did a puppet show with her, and we were doing her puppets, and I was playing a girl puppet, she was playing a girl puppet, and then there was a boy puppet who left, and I started talking about the boy puppet, and she said, "Let's not talk about him, because then we won't pass the Bechdel test," which was fucking amazing. So then I had a gig, the Comedy Club for Kids. Do you guys know Comedy Club for Kids? If you've got kids, it's great. Basically, it's regular comedians, but you go on and you do kid-friendly material. And it's not patronising. It's not like a children's show. Like, I often talk to them, about the fact that they won't ever own real estate, unless their parents die. But I do advise them that it doesn't matter how their parents die. And they love it. And so I went out on stage in this T-shirt, and I said, "Boys, do you talk to each other?" And they went, "Yes." And I said, "Do you only talk about girls?" And they went, "No." I said, "Do you ever talk about girls?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Do you only talk about girls?" They said, "No." And then I said, "Girls, do you talk to each other?" "Yes." Is it only about boys? They went, "No." "What else do you talk about?" And I got the girls shouting out things they talked about. And they were like, playtime and hamsters. Hamsters are very popular. They were obsessed with hamsters. There's one girl just kept shouting out, "Hamsters!"
She's going to be a serial killer. Which is good, because there's only male serial killers. Good on her for representing.
Yeah, #representation. And I was like, shout out your favourite movies. Like, do you notice in these movies girls usually only talk about boys? And they were like, oh, they just thought about it. And they were like, yeah, that's not right. And I said, so what's your favourite movies? You shout out your favourite movies and I'll tell you if they pass the Bechdel test or not. And I had sort of someone on Google. And the first child shouted out, Sunshine on Leith. No fucking kidding, because Comedy Club for Kids is pretty middle class. And I was like, Sunshine on Leith? I haven't even seen that. It's like an indie. And I was like, okay, I was expecting like Lion King. Anyway, we talked on for a while about it and they were shouting out their movies. And then I got them out. I said, okay, let's improvise scenes that would pass the Bechdel test. So I would get 2 girls out on stage and I would shout out, could we have a topic, please? And someone would shout, hamsters. and then the girls would just improvise a little scene like, can I pet your hamster? Oh, he's sick at the moment. I'll be careful. Okay, pet. I think he's better now. And then they'd give the hamster back. And basically,
I know how that hamster got sick.
That
little serial killer kid.
No, she was lovely. And if you are listening, Ms. Mother of the hamster child.
Sleep with one eye open.
No.
Do not
just
get that
a child who wants a hamster. And then I said to the girls, so, watch for these movies. And then I said, boys, do you just want to watch movies in which girls only talk about boys? And they said, no. And I said, firstly, every time you watch a movie, ask yourself, does it pass the Bechdel test? And I said, if it doesn't, what should you do? And a boy shouted, don't watch it. And I said, well, that's an extreme measure, and great. But I said, you might not know when you start the film if it does or not, or doesn't. I said, but now you can contact all of the people who make the movies because they're all on, Twitter and, you can write in, email them. I said, so you could get your mum or dad to write in and just say, hey, I really like this movie, but it didn't pass the Bechdel test. I think it would be great if it did because it doesn't really reflect how, my life works. So maybe you could write in and tell them. And then they all became really active and like, yeah, movies are going to pass the Bechdel test, until it became a little bit like a rally. And then I brought on the next act because I thought, good timing. Because I think some of the parents would go, oh, this has really turned into a political event. But they were really, really into it. And then Isabel Adam, who runs it, said, I just absolutely loved that you did that. I really want you to, come back and do that again and kind of work it into a routine because it was so much fun and so funny. But also they all learned something and they will not forget it because they workshopped Bechdel test scenes. So that was my challenge. My challenge is the next generation coming up will demand better.
All 8 of them. That's amazing.
I will demand better.
That's great.
Hello, Guilty Feminists. It's Deborah. I am briefly interrupting this episode to let you know 3 things. 1, if you are in Melbourne, we are recording an episode live at the Wheeler Centre and you can buy tickets for it. It's this Thursday night. That's February the 23rd. You can go to trybooking.com. My guest co-host in Melbourne will be Celia Piccola and our very special guest will be Cal Wilson. So please book tickets now, trybooking.com. Also, if you'd like to come to our Include Yourself event, it's a Women's Leadership Day for the Guilty Feminist. We're having that in May. Go to guiltyfeminist.com and you can find out more about that. And finally, the Guilty Feminist has been nominated for a Chortle Award. This is incredibly exciting. But we need you to vote if you'd like us to win. So if you go to chortle.co.uk, there are details there about how to vote. You don't have to vote for all the categories. Vote for any that you fancy, but please vote for us. We're in the Internet Podcast category and we would absolutely love your vote. And while you're there, if you would like to vote for my BBC Radio 4 show, it's Deborah Frances-White, Rolls the Dice. There are lots of other lovely Guilty Feminist guests you could vote for too. So please do that while you're there. And we look forward to receiving all of your votes. If you would like feminism to win, who doesn't want feminism to win? And now, back to the episode. So, that's the Bechdel test. Should we invite on our fabulous guest?
Yes, I'm so excited.
She is a shit-hot stand-up comedian. She's an incredible actor. She's a writer and is now becoming a filmmaker, which is very exciting. She lives in Los Angeles, so we're so excited to get her here. We did not fly her here business class. Just to be clear, she happened to be here and we're just so excited. I've been trying to get her as a guest for a million years. Put your hands together, make general woohooing and stamping noises for Andi Osho! How are you, Andi?
I'm suddenly really aware that I'm the only person here with a hat on. When I left, it was such a good idea. And then I heard someone say, on the radio, I'll tell you something. They said, when you leave, look in the mirror, take one thing off. And when they said that, I was like, no, I won't. And then now I wish I had. I like it, but it feels like it's meant to be on outside.
No.
Deborah only took off her big hat because someone on the bus ripped it off her head. Otherwise, she would have worn hers as well.
To be entirely fair, I do have a big hat, but I've never worn it on a bus, and now I'm going to.
I mean, it's not a cinema. It's okay to wear a big hat on a bus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, in a cinema, that is rude.
It's not on. It's really not on.
You're fine because you're on the stage. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely fine. It's actually very jaunty. Can I just
Well,
say?
yeah, I played with the angle quite a bit before leaving. Just a little window into my world.
No, I love it. It's the Guilty Feminist, so we love a bit of, chat about jaunty angles of hats.
Right,
And threading before we get to the hard-hitting feminism.
I had my eyebrows tattooed. Are we really doing this?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, talk about your eyebrows. We're fine.
Well, yeah, no, because I had them, because my eyebrows just sort of run out about halfway along. So I look like a Labrador. So, no, but I just had enough. So I thought I'll just get the ends, tattooed on.
But proper tattoo?
Yeah, man. But not in a tattoo parlour. So what do you want? Love your mum? No, just like the rest of my eyebrows. That's all I want. I just want to look like an actual
can you imagine
human.
if you come out with sailor anchors?
Just love and hate.
Yeah, exactly. Yin and yang.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that would have been brilliant.
I wouldn't have been best pleased, but it worked out.
Where do they do that?
In some sort of beauty torture chamber type thing.
Wow, did it hurt?
Not really, but you know what they... Sorry, I just got distracted. Did someone fart over here? Is that what that noise was? No, I'm joking. Sorry, carry on. It was probably a chair, sort of, that thing that you do, and you try and recreate it so everyone knows around you that wasn't a fart, that was the chair. But I just heard it. Was it you?
I can't do...
All right,
We all know how Deborah feels about butt stuff.
I
so if
can't
you just want to not fart...
Oh, really?
No.
You got the wrong guest.
Okay.
I shouldn't have known that.
No.
What was the episode where I said the words gaping asshole and you nearly cried?
That one hasn't come out yet. And so the week it does, I'm going to have to go away. Just go on holidays or something. And
Okay.
Just,
Should I tell you my poo story now?
Oh, no.
Oh,
Because I'm thinking get it out of the way so we can have a proper...
Or just never tell it. That's the other option.
But this podcast is about sharing things with people that you wouldn't...
It's just right there.
It's right. It's so... You can't...
It's not even about me. It's like my friend told me, when she was little, her brother did this massive poo in the toilet and her mum made her... Because they couldn't flush it. So her mum... Oh, you look so terrified. It is pretty bad. And her mum made her cut the poo in half with a knife. It. We had so many questions when she told us this. What happened to the knife? We're so there you go. Wipe it on the sleeve, back in the drawer.
Why would it work to cut it? It would still be in the...
Right, but it makes it more... it gives it more aerodynamic, the water equivalent of aerodynamic, so it can get down...
But you just waited till it was
for how long? How long do you wait?
A good hour?
Is this a feminist issue? That's my only question.
It bonds us.
Yes. I suppose it's a feminist issue that I can't talk about bodily functions, probably because I feel like it's not feminine at some level. I was taught that as a child. Yeah. I think it's actually more an aversion to being Australian, because I was raised in Australia and there was lots and lots of jokes about the loo.
Right.
The loo.
And
I love when Deborah's about to say loo, she goes, loo, boy.
I was so famous in Australia not Australia-wide. Guys, I'm
it's the
so
poo
famous
lady.
in Australia. I can't walk down the
It's
street
the woman
there.
who doesn't know how to
I had
talk
to
about
move
poo.
here because I was so famous there. No, amongst my friends in Australia, I was notorious, so notorious that I had a friend. He was a middle-aged man and I was young. He used to ring up in the middle of the night and just say toilet, toilet, toilet and hang up.
Is that you? Was that what you could call a friend?
At one point...
Oh, that's so sweet. You're like... Yay.
It was an Australian practical joke. And he was about to have a baby. And I said, what are you going to call the baby? And he said, well, if it's a boy, we're going to call him WC, after W.C. Fields. And if it's a girl, we're going to call her latrine.
Just for you.
So I have
You're going to get so many phone calls from me at 3 a.m.
No.
from now on. He's going
You have
poop,
rather
poop,
set
poop.
yourself up here, I might say.
So tell us about LA, because you are becoming a filmmaker in LA.
That's right, lots of toilets in LA, a lot of toilets. You can't move for toilets in people's houses.
They don't say toilet there, do they? They say bathroom or restroom.
I'll tell you what they
do. It's not okay to say toilet there.
No, that's right, because that's referring to the actual thing.
Yes.
The actual toilet.
You wouldn't say go to the toilet literally means
Yeah.
It conjures the act, not the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Although I would tend to say loo, because I think toilet's an ugly word.
They do tickle themselves by saying loo, because on the West Coast, they're right Anglophiles. It's pretty annoying. And so, they do love saying loo.
It's a bit of a Madonna thing.
Yeah.
They say, oh, and Andy, do you want to use our loo? And you're like...
What, is it just walk through the door?
Yeah.
You look like you need the loo.
Because we know you've got a lot of great stories about them. You just never stop telling them. So we just figured you might want to tell a story here.
You bring it out of me. I don't go around telling scatological stories. You brought this out of me.
I apologise, and I wish very much to put the genie back in the bottle. And by genie, I do mean...
The poo back in the
Thank
bottle.
you.
Poo back in the bottle.
Someone had to say it.
Thank you.
So there's one time I'm on holiday, yeah? Oh, no, wait, what are we talking about? Let's do that.
So the reason we're talking about the Bechdel test is...
I mean, we haven't spoken about a man, so in some ways...
No.
This is very feminist.
Well, we did talk about the boys' poo.
That's right, we did.
Classic women.
I just... It's all men.
Men's poo. Men and their toilet habits.
Just to avoid this becoming an episode of 2.5 Men. When you're in Hollywood, do you find a lot that the scripts aren't what you wish they would be?
No, I would say no, but I think the type of roles that I end up going up for are the sort of the professionals, because I think once you reach a certain age, you're not really, especially if you're going up for co-star and guest star type stuff, you're not really ever love interest. I'm not a love interest type of person, like in the casting director's mind. I'm always, the lawyer that's bailing you out of jail or something like that, or the doctor that, is asking for equipment. That's how they do it. Give me all the equipment.
You've got the part.
Yeah.
That was very good equipment asking.
Yeah, exactly. I can do this. So I get a lot more of that. So I can't say really that anything I've read has offended me as a woman and made me feel like this role is being diminished because of the gender of it. I think I've been quite lucky, actually, the things that I've read for.
And that's interesting that you say when you reach a certain age, you get to play professionals.
Yeah.
So maybe it's an issue. Do you think it's an issue with younger women are always seen as the sort of the love interest or the sex interest, and then you hit a certain age and it's like, now you can carry a stethoscope?
Yeah, well, I'm not young enough to be love interest. I'm not old enough to be mom, so I'm professional.
You're in the middle, which is lawyer.
Yeah, I'm lawyer.
You're basically the good wife. You're carrying a file and you're demanding things, pounding on tables.
I can be that, like in ER and stuff like that, when like one of the main characters is walking down a corridor and someone stops them and asks them to sign something. That's me. That's the sort of thing that they would get me in to do.
You would sign something? And
I would stop them and say, Carter, sign this thing, but without saying anything. And then go. That's kind of where I'm pitched at the moment. I'm sort of random doctor.
Would you turn anything down if it was like inherently sexist or problematic in any sort of way?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been up for things more to do with representation of race, to be honest, where I've just looked at this thing where it's an African woman sort of thing, no reference to what country, and you're just like...
That's from the continent of Africa?
Yes, the country of Africa, if you're from America. So, yeah, stuff like that. But luckily, I haven't been offered those roles, because I think I've sort of self-sabotaged a little bit. And
you read them sarcastically?
Yeah, probably.
Hello, my name is... Oh, no, don't.
Have they made you do an African accent? When they
Yeah.
But again, generic Africa. So do you say from where in Africa? Because there's a lot of accents.
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I just freestyle it.
Do you?
Because I know they don't know. So I went up for one audition, which I ended up getting, and the role said African or Jamaican.
Wow.
What?
Just like black other.
Yeah, exactly. So it turns out, I mean, I saw this film and I have no problem saying this, but there was loads of like really gratuitous sort of racial and sort of gender stereotypes in it and stuff. So it was,
What did you say? Did you tell them in the audition?
Well, no, because I was a new actor, so I didn't realise that it was okay to just go, mate, just so you're clear, there are countries in Africa and, And
Jamaica's not there.
Right, exactly. Jamaica's not one of them, so pick something.
Yeah.
But he'd obviously, like you say, he'd obviously just in his mind just gone, generic brown, but not from here.
I have a friend here who's a black actor, and there was an audition some years ago that's famous amongst the black acting community because when you went in, they gave you this like Rasta hat that you might buy in Camden Market, one of those hats that had dreadlocks.
Yes.
And they made the actor put this dreadlock hat on for this Jamaican character and then made them do this really terrible kind of racist patois. It was horrible. And he said, oh, yeah, we all called that the Locks audition. That was famous. And for years, people talked about that as, oh, did you go up for the Locks audition? And he said it's a bit like Woodstock. Everyone claims they were there, but they can't possibly have seen that many people for the role.
That's great.
But there is a version of the Bechdel test, which is whether or not there are two people of colour and do they speak about something other than a white person? And the answer is hardly ever. Because even movies that are about race, generally there is some magnificent white human being who fixes racism through the course of that 90-minute feature film.
That does rather tend to happen. I have my own measure, which I created all by myself. It's called the Big Willie Test. So, like, if they haven't got like great diversity in terms of like race, it's how many episodes of The Fresh Prince would you have to watch to offset the lack of black people? Do you know what I mean? So, like, Saving Private Ryan, great movie. That's 10 Big Willies, you know what I mean? You've got to watch a lot of, like, Fresh Prince to be able to offset the absence of any brown people.
So it's like carbon offsetting.
Yeah,
essentially. You have to plant trees if you're going to take a long-haul flight.
Totally.
So similarly,
if
I want to watch, like, one of Sophie's whiter Tarantino films, I would have to watch like a full box set of early Fresh Prince.
Yeah, we have to line Will Smith's pockets pretty good after a Tarantino film.
Right.
But I watched Fresh Prince every single day for like 5 years of my life when I was a teenager.
So you've earned it.
So I can just...
You've got a lot in the bank.
I never have to.
I feel I'm going to need more Fresh Prince in the bank.
You do, Deborah.
Is there anything else I could watch that isn't Fresh Prince?
No.
Because I find Fresh Prince somewhat problematic.
Oh, that's my scotology, Deborah.
I know, I do.
Are you kidding?
Well, it's more male than female experience, isn't it, the Fresh Prince? Like, women in that are often the subject of Will Smith's advances.
Well, no.
You got the sister, she's kind of vacuous and superficial.
Right.
Then you've got the mother who changes face every episode.
And she's sort of also one of those American sitcom moms that actors always complain about because she spoils the fun. And the actor, the actor who plays the mother in Modern Family, I've heard her interviewed and she said, I just try and find a way that for my character, I'm going, no, we'll have more fun if we obey the rules so that I don't feel like a killjoy in every episode because I'm not always saying, hey, fun people, stop having fun while I make you do your homework / make my husband do something sensible because often women get those roles where they're the nag and then they're widely hated.
Yeah, right.
I see what you mean in terms of Vivian in Fresh Prince, but at the same time, she was never, Phil... Uncle Phil, never. Do
you wish Uncle Phil was your uncle?
Oh, God rest his soul.
Rest in peace. But he was never in Everyone Loves Ray. Is that what it's called? Where he's always like
Everyone Loves Raymond.
Yeah, he's always like a bit cuckold and like ugh. Where in Uncle Phil was like worshipped Vivian, and when she made a good point, he would be like, "Oh, of course, my love, I love you," and it was very. That's exactly how he spoke. Of course, my love, I love you. But there were some really powerful moments in Fresh Prince where the women got to speak up and go, "Don't talk to me like that. Don't do that." So yeah, Will Smith was a bit of a baddie, which I also told him in all the letters I wrote to him when I was 10. I was like, "Oh, you're a bit of a baddie, but I love you. Come visit me." In Denmark, but there was some really when you rewatch it. Of course, there's it's from the 90s. It's of course there are problematic stuff in it, but there are also some pretty powerful. Is it Queen Latifah who plays his girlfriend at one point? And there's this whole fat positive thing where she goes, "Are you ashamed of being with me because I look like this?" And then he changes his mind. He's like, "Oh, I'm an idiot. I am in love with you." And it's this. Of course, they don't end up being a couple for longer than one episode, which hasn't changed till now when Louie CK did the same thing. But still, she got to say it, and it was the 90s.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you know Will Smith? Because I feel like that's why Sophie wanted you on the podcast now. Are you friends with Will Smith in LA?
I wish I was friends with Will. He's kind of a bit scary, actually. Is he a Scientologist or no?
Yeah, he is. It's something
know.
like his kids only have like one outfit or something. Also, can I just say I didn't
I feel like that's an internet snopes thing. His kids only have one outfit.
Can I just say I feel like I really need to say that I didn't go, Andi Osho, does she know Will Smith?
No, she didn't say that. That's a joke. I realised, I agree, because people didn't really laugh at that. They were like, yeah, that sounds plausible.
Oh, right, that I would actually...
No, that Sophie would have wanted you on.
Right, okay.
Because I was like, hey, do you know Will Smith? That's why she wanted you on. And everyone went, yeah, that sounds right.
Classic Sophie. Classic
she would
Sophie.
do.
It's just clarifying. She wanted you for yourself, not just for your best friendship with Will Smith. But if you do know him,
But in all
can we all
seriousness,
have
do you
coffee?
know?
I'll see what I can do. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, okay, great. Good.
One
Can
there?
I just ask about that Louie CK Fat episode?
Yeah, you want to go there?
I really do, actually.
Fuck that guy, I'm sorry.
Oh, really? What happened?
Fuck that guy. He did this, and it was so praised in such a long time, so it was an episode, there's this fat waitress who's funny, makes him laugh, like there's such a good match.
She's hot, by the way, as well.
yeah,
like,
she's
objectively, billboard, pretty, blonde.
But fat.
But fat. But
and,
she's
so she's
stereotypically
she
pretty.
asks him out, offers him like tickets for like a really like a fancy football game of American football or whatever, and who cares? And he's like, okay, I guess we can go to this game together. And then she does this long speech about how it's really difficult being fat when people don't want to hold your hand in the street and people can't know that they're with you because you're fat and blah, 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 why does blah, 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 all of that. And it's true, like she has a point where she's like, it's a bit difficult when people feel like they're ashamed of being with me. And then he goes, because he's such a good guy, guys, he takes her hand. Yeah, and then he tells her a fat joke. And she's like, end scene. And we never hear of her again. And everyone, in the beginning, people were like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so fat positive. What a wonderful, lovely guy. And then I was like, wait a minute, that is fucking bullshit.
I found it very unfat. I was so surprised that the response was, this is fat positive. Like, because he clearly really likes her. Like, he's laughing at all of her jokes. He's watching her from afar. She asks him out, and he wants to go out.
Also, he's, like, in this series, it's not like he's dated, like, these women who are just so... Like, he's dated all these different women with different personality traits, but most of them have been, like, insane. Where she was at least... Like, she's the first woman he's met in this whole series who's, like... Well, apart from what's-her-face, but still... It's not like... She couldn't just be fat... and like just a bit quirky or a bit boring or she had to be like mind-blowing, like a symmetrical face, like beautiful, in order for him to even look. This is a guy who like wanks under a table whilst eating ice cream and crying, and he's still like, oh, fat women, no thank you. Like, go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. Are you friends with Louie CK?
Not now.
Sorry.
No, it's a funny old thing because as much as it's interesting when people make those alternative choices, you're sort of, yay, and then you're like, oh, why is this seen as an alternative? Why is a larger girl as a love interest for the main person such a weird thing?
Yeah.
Like, are we really still there? Like, I had an argument, or a discussion, let's say, with a friend of mine, and I was saying that the role that I'd been asked to read for was a lawyer who ends up being the love interest of one of the two main characters, and they put in the breakdown, not Jermaine Greer, who's that woman? Not Jermaine Greer. It's totally not Jermaine Greer.
Gloria Steinem?
No, it's a black woman who is...
Bonnie Greer?
Queen Latifah.
No, I don't even think it's a Pam Greer.
Pam Greer. Okay,
Right.
let's take that again because we can edit that out.
No, keep in the Jermaine Greer. No, so they put Pam Greer in the description of the thing. And I said to my mate, I said, listen, I'm not going to get this role because of the love interest thing. If it was about lawyering, lawyer up because Osho's in town. But, you know, if it's about love interest, I'm not seen in that way by casting directors. And
It's very odd that you say that for me because I think you are stereotypically attractive.
In terms of how they see.
In a poster on a bus stop with your back to Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
I wouldn't be like, oh, that's odd. You would look
Oh, I've just
right.
thought of our poster, like a Madhouse when they met. It was crazy. I just thought of that. I literally just thought of that. That's what I would do with him. If he goes back to doing the rom-coms, that's what I'll do with him. No, but I mean, that
I will call. I've got him on speed dial.
Oh, great, fabulous.
Mention it.
But that's how.
But yeah, you could have your back to Matthew McConaughey.
No, I
It
couldn't.
wouldn't look
Not
odd.
skinny enough. Too old, dark skin. They don't go for that sort of. You never see a woman with my complexion in a relationship with a white guy unless
that
it's
is true.
about the fact that it's a dark-skinned woman. You know, in How to Get Away with Murder, that's the only time you see it. Viola Davis gets to do it, so nobody else can now for a while. I'm not shading her, but I'm just saying, you know, that's where we are, the industry is, in terms of like, norms.
Was it a music video quite recently? I don't know the names of those people, the music people, but they said they only wanted...
Any of them?
Beyonce.
Yeah, it wasn't her.
Rihanna.
It would never be her. This is a bad one. It's a man.
Kanye West?
Probably, maybe.
Is it the one with the girls dancing?
It's the one where he only wanted the casting call for I think the dancers in the video were mixed race, and he wouldn't go. And there was a big talk about how the thing was they couldn't be dark skinned.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't be too dark skinned. That was recently that happened. I think with Kanye West.
That they like black women should be light skinned.
Yeah, more the
that's
sort
what
of Jada Pinkett sort of.
That's
Zoe
what happened
Saldana.
with Vivian in Fresh Prince. The first Vivian was quite dark-skinned, and then the next Vivian in the next season...
I thought it was the other way around. Was it so the darker-skinned woman was first?
And then they got...
And then the network went, could you bring this same person only in a bit paler?
Yeah.
And it was the 90s, so people went, yeah, sure.
That sounds reasonable.
I mean, but it sounds like they're still doing it.
Yeah, they would probably still do that now.
We fixed that now. We haven't.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But if I can see what you're saying about you wouldn't have your back to Matthew McConaughey, but if it was Will Smith?
But then it would become a black film, because this is why in Hitched he had Eva Mendes as his love interest rather than...
She was Hispanic.
Yeah.
So if it was...
who can I have my back to? Let's see. Because we want to leave this on a positive note.
If you had your back to Will Smith, the movie would have to be called For Shizzle.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would only play in black cinemas.
Exactly. No one else would
want to see it. No one else would know it was on.
But also, it would, like in terms of fatness, because I watched that one. What's it called? How to Be Single, where Rebel Wilson is being really cool, but then so she like fucks all these guys, and that's great. But they're all so fat. So it's like, okay.
That's the thing with the Louie CK thing. I honestly feel like if he had just had that woman for the week, 'cause he often changes the love interest, be fat and not commented on it.
Exactly.
That is radical.
Yeah.
That is the only radical thing you can do. And it is also real fucking life. Because, you know, I've been all sorts of sizes, and I've been all sorts of sexually interesting to all sorts of people. Sorry to my husband who's standing there with the microphone. And also, I look around me and I think, I go to America, I see fat people holding hands in the street, I see fat people holding hands with thin people. I don't see this big thing where a woman's like, oh, no one's ever held hands with me in the street because they'd be too ashamed. It's America. Are you serious? There's plenty of fat people holding hands with all sorts of people.
Let's go and find my ex-boyfriend, because he's really hot. And we can say, come on, go.
It's really...
Let's all go.
Reese, we're doing this.
We need to prove a point.
We should do a Q&A. We should ask if people have any questions, which I assume they do, because there's always one at least.
Hello. I wanted to ask you about gender swap movies and how they're coming in and what you think about that, because I loved Ghostbusters and I thought it was really amazing what they did with the female characters, and they were just women, but it wasn't about them being women. But then they announced even more, and I kind of feel like, why can't we just write female characters that are female characters that men haven't done already? We deserve more than their cast-offs. I don't want to be like, have a second go at something. But then I wrote an article about that, and everyone was like, well, but it's women in film, that's what you want. So I wondered what...
There you go, little lady. You got your own little Ghostbusters. Ghostbusterette. Enjoy.
Exactly. You're the stepchild. Be fucking grateful you're getting a hand-me-down coat at all. Otherwise, you'll just freeze in the cold, is basically the response.
But we barely have, like, women playing... Like, women, like, there's so many... What is it, Mrs. Brown's Bias? Is that a man with a wig on? And what's the one with Robin Williams where it's also...
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Where it's also a man with a... I do know that's the theme of the film, but
I mean, there was other stuff in between.
There's not only been Mrs. Doubtfire and Mrs. Brown's Boys. There have been other films.
Can I just say, there's a sketch show in Denmark where they now have a female writer, which is very good, because then they don't have to bother with anything else. And even when they do their little tiny sketches, it's not that I'm mad at them or anything, but even when they have... So everyone on the writing team plays in the sketches apart from the woman writer, but they do often have women in their sketches, but when they do that, it's the male writer with a wig on.
I agree with you about the Ghostbusters Ghostbusters thing. I suppose I could applaud them for sort of rebooting it with women, but I totally get what you're saying. It's just like, why can't they just have original stories or find new intellectual property that has women in the fore? Like, so many films have done so well with, women, like, the Hunger Games franchises, like big movies that do well with women in lead roles. And they're making Ocean's 11 now with an all-female cast. And the problem with it is that it just sets the cast members up for so much criticism, because it isn't the producers, it's not Sony that takes the hit for these things, it's fucking Leslie Jones on Twitter just getting hounded off a social media platform, and almost a lightning rod for hateful trolls and stuff like that. So fine, go ahead and make all these things, probably because they got the IP for it still, so they need to use it while they've got the license for it or whatever, but just do us a favor and just like make films that also feature women that aren't just chatting about blokes and can be big box office sellers.
Do you think it's a necessary segue?
Yeah, possibly.
Like, that it's part of the journey towards the idea that we could write a brand new film that has a science element and a supernatural element for women, in the same way that people got very annoyed that Eddie Redmayne played a transgender woman in The Danish Girl when there are actual transgender actors out there. But if Eddie Redmayne makes that famous and then the next time they go, oh, OK, now we use a transgender actors, it might just be a point on the graph towards inclusivity, possibly.
Hopefully it's a step towards it.
We have to demand that it is.
I'm just tired of it. It feels like it's like a kindergarten thing of like, okay, you can have your milk if you eat your carrots. And like, we're all adults, and it should be possible to just go straight in for the all-female cast.
We have to eat the carrots. I think that's what I've learned. And the carrots are obviously metaphors for penises. I mean, they're very phallic.
I can't unthink that now. On the Eddie Redmayne thing, I think that everyone's got a price next to them. Every movie star's got a price, and so he's going to generate a certain amount of box office draw, as opposed to an actual transgender actor who is unknown isn't, and so therefore the money's not going to come.
What I'm hoping is that a transgender actor will become famous enough, but unless we've got films about transgender issues, it doesn't develop so that then transgender actors will be used, and then a transgender actor will be famous enough, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So I feel like some people were very angry about it, and I was like, but it's a realistic... I've started to think recently that we need people who are realistic and we need people who are radical.
Yeah.
And they need to work in tandem. That the radical people, basically, whatever happens, go, it's not fucking good enough. Mm-hmm. And I really notice this at the moment. Like, anytime you try and be more inclusive, someone goes, you're not being inclusive in the right way, it's not good enough. And it's very discouraging sometimes. And you go, I still haven't got it right, or it's still not good enough. But you need that radical voice pushing on the real world people. So I feel like I want to be a real world solution person, but I also want the radicals shouting, it's not good enough. And we need to work together.
Yeah.
Can we not have one more quick question?
No.
We don't have to be out till 8:30.
That's
10
in
minutes.
10 minutes. We have to do that, and that.
God.
Wow. And obviously I've got to close with my poo story. Am I right, guys? No.
Is there anything?
One quick one.
No.
Or you can plug something.
Is there anything you want to plug?
Either way.
Well, I can kill two birds with one stone. So I was on holiday, and I'll do this quickly, right? So I was in this apartment. It has a really nice open air atrium outside, and the rooms were next to each other, but they were kind of opposite. So the bathrooms were next to each other, and there was this family in the room next door to us that were just like Mormons or something. They never spoke to each other at breakfast. It was just like cutlery against crockery, and we were just like, God, these people were just so weird. Why don't people ever talk to each other on holiday? Just I hate you, or whatever. It's what they're thinking, but they don't talk to each other. So I was there with my boyfriend, sorry to talk about a boy, but a man. So the mum, she left the table and she went upstairs. Oh, I went upstairs as well, went to our room, which is next door to them, to pack and stuff, because we were going for a day out sort of thing. And the mum had gone into her room. And I was in our room just packing my bag, and I heard, from the next door room, sort of... I was like, oh dear, she's having a bit of a tricky poo. And we all have it, we're on holiday, unfamiliar foods and stuff like that. But then...
Can I hug you through?
Then, no, it's not that bad. But then, like, literally, after I heard I heard my boyfriend go, "I can hear you." Because the windows were next to each other, he thought it was me. So he had said through this woman's window, "I can hear you." I mean, it must have just shot straight back up inside her because it's some random male voice coming through.
Worth it.
That was it. Look, there you go.
Perfect.
You still got all the time.
And is there any lawyer show we should be watching out to see you in, Andy?
No lawyers, although I do play a child protective services lady in Lights Out, which I think it might still be in cinemas, but otherwise it will be on DVD very soon.
Cool. And are you on Twitter, social media?
Yes, all the social medias.
Good.
We should find you as Andi Osho on any of the social
Yeah,
medias.
I think it might be the Andi Osho, like with a W at the end and stuff. I do, Instagram. I like periscoping. I periscope quite a bit.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. It's kind of, once you get past like all the racism and the misogyny, it's quite a fun platform. Like you just get people going, "Nigger," and then like you're just like, all right, let that go. All right, block him, block her, and then it's quite fun.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it's something to behold. Like people are just like, you know I can block you, right? You're only going to get one shot at this and that's how you're going to use it. Nigger! and then they're gone. It's like, you might want to cut this. I don't know.
No, I'm not cutting this. I'm not cutting you live with that on Periscope.
Deborah, do you have anything you want to plug?
Yes, I'm doing Global Pillage. Please come and watch it live and also go to globalpillage.net. It is a diversity-placed comedy panel show. Sophie, do you have anything to plug?
I have my own little podcast called Made of Human, which is me talking to people who are like a bit weird and introverted as well. And we talk about how to do life. Because I don't know sometimes or all the time. Yeah, it's Made of Human on iTunes and stuff. So, and it's all on all the other social media as well. So if you want to listen to that, that would be great if you feel like you can relate to that. Yeah, we're on Twitter at GuiltyFemPod and on Facebook at the Guilty Feminist Podcast and on Instagram at the Guilty Feminist. Go find Guilty Feminist on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. No, Deborah, stop.
Or
no.
You know what?
Why would you tell them to not give it a 5-star rating?
I usually say give it as many stars as you see fit.
But you've seen the light?
But tonight is a special night, so I'm going to say give it 5 stars.
Oh, we're going to be all over iTunes now. Finally.
And come and see our live shows again. There are still tickets. I think September and October have sold out, but there might be like a couple more that they're releasing. And then December, there's a show here. So please come back and see us again and in the new year. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our fabulous guest, Andi Osho.
I found my old diary from when I was 16, and that was cringeworthy as fuck. If you don't know this is my last episode for probably quite a while. I'm going on a break from the Guilty Feminist, which means that Deborah will be taking over with some, I guess, good guest hosts or whatever. Just like people you've never heard of, like Sarah Pascoe. So I want to read you something from my teenage diary. It's a list I made called When I'm Skinny. Oh, the dreams. When I'm skinny, I will be able to wear a bikini or a swimsuit to the beach this summer. I will get better confidence. My sex life will improve, as I won't be afraid of how I look. Guys will be looking at me, eyeing me, and be flirtatious. My boyfriend will feel like a luckier guy. I don't know why he didn't look at me, eye me, and... Anyways. I'll be able to go shopping without crying in the dressing room. I'll be a size large or less, maybe even a medium or less. That's more a factual thing. I can wear sleeveless shirts. I won't envy other girls. I'll be better in the gym because I know I look great. I won't sweat as much, which means I'll be able to ride my bike to school without looking like a sweating pig. People will tell me how great I look. Martinez will bawl his eyes out. It was this guy I'd been really in love with who'd rejected me. People will say they're proud of me. I will have achieved the one thing I still need to achieve, which is saying a lot, because I was 16. Like, if I'm skinny, I'm done. And then the last one, I can have lesbian sex. No idea. I don't even think I knew I was bisexual at this point. I was just like, oh, you have to be skinny to have lesbian sex. I don't know how that works. And that was 11 years ago. And I didn't become a feminist till I moved to the UK. I was a sexist person. It was internalized misogyny. And then now it's only been 10 months since we started doing this, and I've had strangers take photographs of me naked. I've tackled, I hope you've heard that episode, otherwise it sounds very... I've tackled my eating disorder. I'm trying to make sure that on the tour I'm going on now, there'll be hopefully gender-neutral toilets everywhere. We've done so many challenges, and I have a column in a Danish women's magazine, a feminist column. What the fuck is that? On next Tuesday, I'm doing a speech to 400 young girls in Denmark about feminism, and I only have 8 minutes, and I need to... 11 years ago, I would have been in that audience, and now I get to speak to them. And I think I'm a very stubborn person, so every single time we've done a challenge, that has turned something in me, and we've did a challenge about hair. I just stopped shaving, and now I don't give a shit about that. That's pretty extraordinary that something like this can change something in people. And if it's changed just a tiny bit of that same thing in just one of our listeners, if there's one of our listeners who's also 16 at the moment, who feels the exact same way as I felt, if I could have heard this when I was 16, that is extraordinary. So what I want to say is thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this, because this has been life-changing for me. So thank you so much. And I've done, in terms of just the practical stuff of doing this podcast, everything my only job has been to have the Instagram account, and I forgot the password. I've done 5% of the work that goes into doing this podcast. What our producer Tom and what Deborah has done in terms of how much energy and money and time they put into this is fucking extraordinary. So please give it up for them as well.
So I just want to say this has been an amazing 10 months for me, and it's totally changed my life. You promised me you wouldn't cry. I'm trying not to, but I'm trying not to look at you.
When she said she wasn't going to cry, I took that as a challenge. And I was I was going to bring tissues to mock her, but now she cried anyway, so challenge one.
It feels like there was just a sort of complicity, where we came together and we were just having brunch, and it was like, hey, why don't we do a podcast? And then there's clearly something in the zeitgeist. I think it's mostly that women are thirsty for something that's about them, that's, not filtered.
You're not qualifying, are you?
Through them. No, but, yeah, probably. But I feel like just the fact that our little lunches have become something that has spoken to so many people in such an amazing way. And so many people email us all the time and say, I stood up to my boss, I said no to the sexual harassment, I drew a line in the sand, I'm not going to apologize anymore, I went and applied to do my PhD. And even really more important things about people who've gone and reported a rape, or, they've just women starting to stand up for themselves. And I think something about it being guilty feminism, that, hey, I don't have to be completely perfect in order to be able to inhabit this space. So I just want to say, Soph, thanks so much for daring to co-create this with me, because I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, if we put it on the internet, we're going to get kicked out of the club. And Soph was like, no, I'm pretty sure other people feel like this. And it's been such a privilege to work with you. I've learned so much from you. I've learned so much about body positivity and inclusivity, and I just love it. I love, everything that we do together. You make me laugh so much. I'm going to miss you so much. It's not going to be the same. Hopefully I can build something, a new chapter and reboot. It's just going to be like the rebooted Ghostbusters. Hopefully. So I don't know, how many of you listened to the episode about shoes this week? Yeah. Okay, you might have heard in it that one of Sophie's I'm a Feminist parts was I'm a feminist, but somebody gave me this really boring documentary and about feminism, and I hid it under my bed and didn't show it to you because I felt really guilty. But it was like hours long and it was black and white. I said, what was it called? She said, I don't know, Suffragette blah blah. And so I was like, Suffragette blah blah. We might as well rename this podcast Suffragette blah blah. And so people this week were hashtagging Suffragette blah blah. And so Tom and I have a DVD for you.
Oh no.
It's called Suffragette Blah Blah with Sofie Hagen and Deborah Frances-White. And the quote on the front is very long, variety.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. I was so afraid you were going to give it back to me and be like, watch it. No. Oh, it's so good.
No, on the back, it says, this classic movie from 1938 finally comes to DVD in its full length for the first time. When originally released, studio executives slashed the picture to a mere 275 minutes. The footage was thought lost forever, but now archivists have managed to uncover a further 30 reels of film and have finally restored this masterpiece to its full length. And then there's a quote from the New York Times, seriously, this thing goes on for fucking ever. Entertainment Weekly says, really much longer and more boring than I was expecting. Monthly Film Bulletin says, do you know it's in black and white too? I mean, seriously. Hollywood Reporter says, I left and came back 2 days later and it was still going on. And Sofie Hagen says, under my bed where it belongs.
That's amazing. I would put that on Instagram if I could remember the password. Oh, thank you so much.
If you open it up, you'll see the DVD inside.
Amazing, it's Dirty Dancing.
She's never seen it. She's never seen it.
It's about time.
It's the very guiltiest part of my guilty feminism.
That's
so
the best.
So thank you so much.
Did you Photoshop yourself on the cover?
No, Tom
Okay.
did it.
You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Sofie Hagen, Deborah Frances-White, and special guest Andi Osho. The recording engineer was Christian. Music by Mark Hodge. The producer was Townsend and the Spontaneity Show. Thanks to Zoe, Mendel, Sandy, and everyone at Pink Space, as well as all of you for listening.